Hi. Do you find yourself lonely? Wishing you had more friends? Wish you had somebody you could call and trust to talk with you and not judge and just to hang out with, spend some time with? Well, if you're in that situation, we're going to talk about that a lot right now. My name is Bill. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and psychotherapist with over 45 years of experience doing this for folks from a lot of different situations. And I've learned a lot from them, and I want to pass it on to you. I'm going to start right now with this thing of lonely. I think there's a lot of people that are very lonely in life. Where do we find most of our friends? Maybe in high school or college or the military. But if we get out of those circles, we can lose track of people as we grow in our lives. Maybe have kids or a spouse or careers that move us around and so on. So it's hard to maintain friends sometimes. So here, and I'm going to give you a very direct situation I had with a schizophrenic client of mine many years ago, without naming them, obviously, and a guidance I gave to them, which seemed to help on a slightly different issue. But I will say that to deal with loneliness, I tell you, you're going to have to make some friends. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm not trying to be mean. But if you're lonely, you're probably going to have to do something about that gets you connected to other people. So over time, you can develop friendships. People are not going to run to you. Sorry. They sure didn't run to me or most people I've ever met. It's taken involvement with others over time to get closer to people and develop closer friendships. So the obvious but true statement is that you start by trying to join some organizations. Get out there, make a list. Where could I go? I'm going to mention several options right here at the end, near the end of the talk today, but make a list of places that you might go. Talk to, if you do have one or two people or so on and that you trust, talk to them about this. Tell them what your struggle is. Admit it. If you don't start acknowledging it, it's not going to probably improve. And I hate to say it, but you're probably not going to shock people, although sometimes they may not know at all, on the other hand, that this is a thing you're struggling with. Some people who are very outgoing and vivacious and energetic really don't necessarily have friends. We just assume they do. This might be you. So if you get into a group, then engage in that group. Don't just sit there like a lump. That won't help you. I have a true story about that. I joined a group, like a weekend seminar many years ago. Great experience for me. I grew a lot emotionally, but I remember very clearly that the first day and a half, I was getting more and more bored. This is not all that interesting. The woman leading it would call on people and have discussions with them right there in front of a pretty large group. But I thought, this isn't that exciting. I don't know why I'm really here. And I was getting pretty bored until I raised my hand. Then suddenly it was me up there or listening and talking and being engaged and being challenged by someone who was very skilled in what she was doing. And it just woke me up. From then on, I was 100% like, wow, this is really cool. This is really hitting home. But when I was just watching other people, nothing was happening. I had to engage, and that's critical. And that's difficult for many people. But if you are going to overcome some of these hurdles in your way, you're going to have to put some effort in there and live with the uncomfortableness. But don't live in the uncomfortableness. Acknowledge the difficult parts of being in a group or meeting new people and so on, or staying involved. But don't let that overrule the need that you have to stay involved. Related to that is look at the positives when you're in there. If you're in these groups or you're trying to engage with others, look at even the smallest thing you get. I have always said in my career that to some clients who are sometimes struggling, I would say like, well, is it better? Well, just a little bit. They'd say, not very much. I said, okay, but wouldn't you want to be a little bit better than a little bit worse? So take the positives from that and keep building on that. And kind of the final piece on how to get these friendships going in these groups, and I'm going to list again several ideas of what you could join, is to stay there long enough. I am not going to be a channel that tells you in 10 days you're going to learn how to play the guitar or walk a dog or overcome depression or learn a language. It doesn't happen that way. These things take time and commitment. That's a message people don't want to deliver because they would want you to just stay there and think that you're going to get a quick answer. But it takes work and effort and sticking with something. And if you do that, you will get results and not end up discouraged because you tried it for a month and nothing happened. You have to stay more involved. And that is kind of the clue to this. Don't give up, stay involved. What could you join? There's a million things. Join a card club, a reading club, become a baseball card collector, go to parenting groups for yourself, learn pickleball and play that, do volunteering. For a couple of years early in my career, I was a volunteer coordinator. Our job was to hook people up with volunteer opportunities. And many times they then were able to share their skills and experience and help others and meet people. And over time, with effort of being open and available, friendships developed because you spent time with these folks. That's very valuable. And with volunteering, you're obviously helping other people along the way. There are groups like Al-Anon for family members of someone with a severe drinking problem or drug problem. There's AA itself for people struggling with that alcohol problem themselves. There's church groups. There's self-help groups. Meet Up is a national group that has all kinds of activities. And you can't be afraid to go there alone. If you just face your fears, you overcome obstacles by facing your fears. Without that, it's hard to succeed. You have to take on these challenges, and you can do it. You can do it. Just stick with it and give it time. I will tell you this little story of a client I had who was schizophrenic, wonderful young man. I really enjoyed working with him, but he was very afraid that one of his issues is that everybody at work was talking about him. He would see them. It was in a factory down the hall, and there'd be 3 or 4 people there gathering and talking or, walking around. And he, with his pretty severe emotional problem, interpreted this as they're talking about him. And I tried to dissuade him of that belief somewhat and say, like, no, they're just talking about work or how to get that line going again. That doesn't mean they're talking about you. And he heard that story, but it wasn't convincing him. The biggest change I ever got from him to really start to listen to me, I said to him, well, what makes you think you're so great that everybody's going to be staring at you and following you and wanting to be involved in your life? It sounds kind of mean, but it really wasn't, and it wasn't delivered that way. The message is really like, I like you, I think you're a great guy, but you're not so great that everybody's going to be staring at you all the time and wanting to talk about you because they have other parts of their life going on. And that's what I'm saying about you getting in a group and needing friends. You're probably not such a star that everybody's going to rush to you and just want to be around you. Certainly never was that way for me. So you have to kind of put yourself out there. I would say there are many people who do quite likely want to connect with you because they might be lonely themselves. But they don't tell you that, and you don't tell them. So learn from that. Think sometimes like, what am I expecting? People to rush up to me? Or am I going to go out and It's really hard to make friends if you're shy, or even if you're not, or you're busy, but find a way. If you want to overcome being lonely, you're going to have to work and find some friends, and you can do it. That's the thing. Just stick with it. You can do it. So I leave with you that thought. If you are finding this helpful, please do a thumbs up. Let others know. I will tell you, this is about my 13th broadcast. I've never done anything like this before. I could use your support. You could help me grow if you think this has any value. And my effort is to give this more time to see if more people start watching. And that's what I'm going to try to do, see if I can help out. Thanks very much.